our agenda today is to give a quick introduction of ToGo. I'll try to look at the logistical challenges of the agricultural sector. We're not going to touch much on the infrastructure challenges, but we'd rather focus on the movement of goods from sourcing to final consumption and what our experiences are. We'll also share some of the solutions that we think are applicable or some of solutions that we've actually put in place, right? So, and we'll see how it goes from there. So let me start off by introducing ToGo. As mentioned kanina, we are the largest integrated logistics and transportation provider in the Philippines. We have different capabilities in different aspects of the supply chain. And the difference between an integrated provider and a specific service provider, for example, if you're a shipping line, you are a specific provider for the shipping sector. If you're a trucking company, you're a specific provider for the trucking services. But ToGo has the capability to provide services in multiple areas and has the ability to put those capabilities together to come up with a unique solution that the customer might need. So it could be a combination of sea and transport or sea and air and all of that. And you put it together, you offer it to the customer so that the customer generates a desired transportation outcome. So we are grouped by 5 business units on the left side. We have the Sea Solutions Group. The first business unit, the Sea Solutions Group. This unit is responsible and manages our sea assets. Those are the ships, and it provides and manages our sea product. We have what we call our Special Containers Group. This is the group that manages our refrigerated containers, our ISO tanks. It manages our project cargoes. For the agricultural transportation solutions that we have, this business unit plays a special role. We have the Express. I think some of you are more familiar with it. It's very retail oriented. This is where we send our courier documents. Kung meron po tayong padala from Mindanao to Manila or vice versa, sometimes you use ToGo Express. We also use ToGo Express to service the e-commerce business. Let's say, we are a partner to Lazada and Shopee, mostly, where we help them provide transport their goods to the ultimate consumer. ToGo Logistics is where we do our warehousing. Warehousing, that's where we put inventory management. We put goods that will be processed and be delivered to the consumers. We warehouse them there and process them. And then finally, we have a distribution group. The distribution group is really a partnership with large principals where we help the principals sell their goods to many different channels. It could be in the large modern trade, and also it could be in the smaller pharma retail channels like pharmacy, Mercury Drug, and all that stuff. So as a group, we offer multiple transport solutions. First and primarily, as we said, we are a shipping line, but not only do we cater to freight, moving of cargo, we also move passengers. We're probably the only large shipping line that moves passengers from Luzon to the Vismin area, right? Because a lot of the passenger ships move only from Luzon to Visayas or from Visayas to Mindanao and within the Visayas. We are the only carrier that provides these services from Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. We cover 16 major ports of calls. We cover 1,200, we do 1,200 round trips per year. And we move 230,000 20-footer equivalent units. Those are the containers, steel containers that you see moving around the streets, and we move 230,000 of that. So we're the leader there. Cold chain transport. Cold chain transport refers to refrigerated containers, right? So we are, again, the national leader here. Refrigerated containers means the ability to move frozen cargoes that are maybe less than 0 degrees centigrade in temperature. And we can also move chilled, 16, 15, 25 centigrade of cargo. So it caters to different types of cargo. We have 500 reefer units, more than 500 reefer units. We move more than 15,000 refrigerated containers around the Philippines. And we are recognized as a market leader here. We also offer multiple modes of transport. Ang ibig sabihin po nito, we are able to cater to people who can move a full container. If, let's say, a person can move a lot of cargo, he needs a full container, we can give him a full container. And there are some people who cannot really move a lot of cargoes. They can only load a few. So we offer a consolidation service. The consolidation service, you put a lot of cargoes inside the container and you share it amongst many shippers so that the cost is lower especially if you ship lower volumes of cargo. We do also air freight because some of our customers need the faster transit, because sea transit obviously is slower, and some people who move air freight require goods to be faster in some location, whether it be pharma or things like that. We also cater to air freight. So we move 85,000 cubic meters of less than full container, and we move more than 15,000 tons of air freight in the nation, domestic movement. We do the last mile B2B, B2C. The last mile, what it means is that from a factory or from a distribution warehouse or even from the farm, you deliver it to a store, you deliver it to a unique consignee. We do that as well. So we deliver 480,000 cubic meters. So when we say we deliver CBA, we can deliver to SM Supermarket, to PureGo, to Linkatkai, wherever it is that the products are required to be sold by the principals or the multi-brands to stores. We deliver that, and also 10 million business to consumer transactions. That includes not only the e-com that's not we all think about, but it also the letters. For example, if you get a letter from your insurance company, you get a letter from your bank, we deliver that. We're one of the leaders there. We have a store network nationwide. That's about 2,800 owned stores. The stores, if you walk around malls, you'll see ToGo. It goes under the brand of ToGo Express, and sometimes it goes ToGo Express/FedEx. That's where we sell our other products. For example, retail products. For example, we sell passenger tickets, and we also sell express services. So as mentioned kanina, if people want to bring their cartons, boxes to someone in Manila or vice versa, they can go to Express Store, and the Express Store will deliver that to the final destination. We do warehousing. We have 54 warehouses nationwide. That will be important, and hubs that will be important later on when I speak to it. We do kitting and bundling. This service is mostly when you go to a supermarket and you see people selling bundles of 3 shampoos, or sometimes you see people saying, oh, but my toothpaste and toothbrush, or other sorts of combinations. Some of the FMCG principals, they often sell products in different combinations, and they require services of bundling and distribution. So we do that. And as mentioned kanina, we do have a national selling and merchandising infrastructure. We're probably the leaders in the pharma retail channel. So we reach out to close to 2,100 pharmacies, 2,100 stores. And we also cater to food distribution. That will be cheese, milk, and others, to food establishments, like Starbucks. We do that also. So obviously the food establishment business today is quite challenged given the pandemic, but we do see a recovery so far. Okay. Quick development, just to introduce this further. ToGo is a subsidiary of the SMIC group. If you're not familiar with SMIC is the SM Investment Corporations. A corporation, I think it's more known as the SM. So it's a huge conglomerate with many business interests, including retail, banking, and property, right? So in 2017, it invested in ToGo. It started only as an equity investment, but since then it has improved its position, and it's now the majority owner of the ToGo group, which only accentuates and confirms the strategic importance of logistics in the nation's growth, right? Because as we expand consumption, as we improve consumption nationwide, the requirement to move finished goods or raw materials across the country has become extremely important. And the investment of SMIC in the ToGo group simply emphasizes that. Okay. ToGo is a leading asset owner. The difference between an asset owner, because let me step back. ToGo is a logistics provider. Many logistics providers do not own their own assets. What they do is they buy from a certain truck owner or a ship owner, and then they sell that service somewhere else, right? But ToGo is quite different. We have our own assets. We are probably one of the asset leader in the Philippine logistics space. As a consequence, because we're an asset owner, we have the ability to manage supply chain priorities. For example, if customers book with us, because you are a customer to ToGo, then therefore you potentially have the priority on the assets that we own. And we can also, since we control the assets, we're not relying on other people to run the assets. Our ability to manage the reliability of these assets are high. So in other words, we can schedule the departure, we can schedule the arrival, of course, barring any force majeure challenges, right? So in substance, we have 10 vessels and we manage close to 1,400 transportation vehicles, right? So different types and forms. The pictures will show you, we have RoPax, the Ro-Ro passenger ships. We have the freighter ship, which only carry cargo. We have reefer containers, ISO tanks. We have small trucks. The trucks, we can have 4-wheelers, 6-wheelers, 10-wheelers, and even smaller vans as necessary. We have motorbikes. We have trikes. And also we have project cargo trucks, or boom trucks that we call them, to facilitate the movement of project cargos across when you move projects or high oversized cargos across the country. Okay, right. So with our business units and the assets that we've shown you, we have the ability to support the whole value chain. I think the value chain in many industries are quite similar, right? They might have peculiarities by a specific industry, but by and large, I think whether it's agriculture, whether it's industrial, retail, or what have you, the value chain seems to be similar. It always starts with a sourcing process, right? Sourcing of whether it's raw materials, whether it's produce, whether it's international finished goods in the Philippine context. In this area, ToGo is able to support that, right? Because we do transportation of raw materials and inbound transportation of international finished goods. Then when it comes, whether it's raw materials or finished goods that is not yet finalized, it gets into a plant, right, for either manufacturing or processing. ToGo provides production logistics. It sets in-plant logistics. It helps with sequencing of products and other stuff to make sure that the production goes smoothly. After the products get manufactured, it gets moved to a distribution or a warehouse for storage, for staging, and before final delivery to the consumers. So within warehouses, as mentioned earlier, ToGo Group has warehouses, not only in Manila or in large consuming areas, but also in smaller areas in the Philippines. From the warehousing and hubs, we do that last mile transportation. So from inbound logistics, we now move to outbound. Outbound logistics means from DCs, warehouses, they now get transported to the consumers, right? So outbound logistics involve the transportation, whether it's in Luzon, by land, or by sea to Visayas, Mindanao, or vice versa, or by air. It can go either directly to a consumer or a store, or it can go to a distribution center, another hub. Because some of our customers require or want their products closer to market. They don't want to stage all their products in a centralized BC upstream. Sometimes for the interest of the ability to serve the market faster, they would build regional distribution hubs or centers that's closer to market. And in this regional stock forwards locations where they keep inventory, it allows them to cater to the requirements of a store, right? The store again could be a supermarket, could be a pharmacy, could be what have you, or a small convenience store, or directly to consumers. In the food business, for example, because of the pandemic, you would see now that the increased demand for the delivery of food, right? This is also happening directly to consumers, not only for finished food, but also for groceries. We have now been part of the deliveries of groceries from supermarkets directly to consumers, right? So again, you can easily look at that and you would see that this is easily replicable to many industries in different forms, but generally the concepts are kind of consistent. Okay. From there, we move to what we thought are the agricultural challenges that we observe. in the Philippines. And of course, these have been validated, cross-referenced to some of the studies that were done by multiple sectors. I think there are three major problems. There may be more, but from our perspective, from a logistics provider perspective, we see that there are three major ones. Number one is the logistics costs. Studies from DTI, I believe, have shown that the logistics cost is close to 24 to 40% of wholesale, depending on the route, right, where it's coming from. There's the lead time and delays. There's long lead time. For example, I think it's very clear for people in Mindanao, if you want to ship to Manila, sometimes it takes you 10 days, right? 7 days to 10 days to get your products to Manila. And that's not only the steaming time. A steaming time meaning a ship on the sea, but it may also include the port time. It waits for a berth, vessel waits for a berth, vessel waits to unload, and finally the cargo coming out of the ships and being transported and relayed to a truck. So there's a lot of lead time. And if you look at the overall process, supply chain, you would see that there are potential obstacles along the way. And finally, product quality. Because of lead time, delays, multiple handlings. We also know there are a lot of multiple handlings. The produce is handled multiple times from farm before it gets to the store or a person. 40% of that have already been spoiled, right? So I think it's a huge waste that you have 40% of harvested fruits. The numbers may not be 100% accurate, but that's a huge amount of wastage, I believe, in our agricultural logistics. Okay. So the next few slides, let me move to the next slide. So looking at the Philippine agricultural landscape, we grow products quite broadly from the north all the way to the south. We actually put out on the right side what we thought were the top 10 export commodities, maybe a little dated, but this kind of tells us what types of products that are processed and unprocessed and processed products, agricultural products from the North Mindanao, that moves out from there, right? I think obviously the critical question is how do you move all of those products to the critical consumption locations nationwide? So since the Philippines is an archipelago, with different manufacturing or producing areas and consuming areas, the connectivity to key transshipment points to and from Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao is very important. We believe that because of shelf life considerations, reliability and lead times are critical requirements. So what do we mean by reliability and lead times? Reliability means that if you plan to deliver products within 7 days, you need to be able to deliver products within 7 days. If you believe that the lead times are 7 days, it must be 7 days, because I think it has implications to the shelf life of the product, right? Now, going back to ToGo, right? So you need to have a reliable and fast domestic transport carrier to be an enabler to do this, right? If you have products from Davao, Jensan, or Cagayan de Oro, and you want to ship it to Manila, it's so risky to rely on a partner, to use a partner who cannot commit, whether it's 3 days, 4 days, 7 days, right? That's huge risk to the product, right? So ToGo is the only, as mentioned earlier, is the only carrier that runs a passenger ship from Visayas to Luzon. The fact that we are the freight passenger ship allows us berthing priorities. That is normal because the government, PPA, has prioritized, and Marina has prioritized passenger ships with regards to berthing. And that's critical because if you plan to arrive on a Tuesday, it's important for passengers to arrive on a Tuesday, right? Because of this specific, unique configuration of the ToGo ships, it has the ability to offer to the market a unique day-definite sailing, which means that if we say we leave on a Tuesday, and again, barring any unforeseen events, we will leave on a Tuesday. And we would say that it will take us 24 hours to get to Manila, barring any typhoons and other force majeure events, we will get to Manila in 2 days. Right? So for traders and consumers, I think this is critical, right? I think one of the biggest challenges is uncertainty. If traders and consumers and planters and growers can have a unique and reliable lead time, that allows them to create a timetable to harvest. When do you harvest? When do you deliver to the consolidation locations? And when do you plan to fulfill an order that was dropped to you, right? So knowing that fully well allows you to create the right supply chain model. for yourselves, which also would consider, therefore, cost implications, pricing implications, and risk implications, right? But beyond the port, it's also important to be able to have a nationwide hub and transport network. If you're away from Mindanao and you want to ship to Manila, obviously some of your customers will go beyond Manila. Obviously, some of the farmers use traders and distributors who finally deliver to the final places. But it's important for an integrated farmer producer to be able to talk to a large logistics provider. A large logistics provider, what it does, it provides you the ability to talk to a single source, single point of contact. You will have access to the right transport equipment. For example, if you get to a certain location in Manila, sometimes you need a Suzuki carry, smaller truck. You need a 4-wheel truck. You may need a 6-wheel, or you may need a 10-wheel, depends on your destination and depends on the volume that you carry. But if you have to do it by yourself, then you have to talk to multiple transport providers and service providers to be able to achieve that, right? So again, you have the right transport equipment and you have access to multiple type of transport types. What's important also, if you are a shipper that cannot fill up a truck, maybe having spoken or worked with a logistics provider allows you to co-load with other people who also ship. And it may not be vegetables, for example. It may be food products from a different shipper, right? It's called the shared economy model, where that cost of the truck is shared equally, or the cost of logistics is shared equally amongst many users, right? And that's only available if you're able to talk to a partner that can consolidate the movements of multiple players, right? Ultimately, what you want to do is, if a customer wants 100 pieces from you, deliver. If a customer wants to deliver 100 pieces on this day, you'd like to be able to complete that, right? To deliver it full, on time, and the lowest cost possible, because it improves your margin and it allows your customers to sell more, right? So ultimately, it's a win-win situation, right? At this point, we'd like to be able to share some of our observations and some of the solutions that we thought are potentially usable. When I say potentially usable, because some of them might be a little complicated in the sense of doing it, but I think it should not be beyond the realm of consideration. Again, our approach is quite high level. We are not the agriculture experts, but we will use the context of supply chain in looking at some of the challenges, right? We believe the current logistics setup to move produce from origin farm to market its setup contains a lot of obstacles. If we look at the production to customer model, let's take a look at the farm to consolidation area, container yard, right? So you'd see that some of the challenges that our customers have explained and shared with us, I'm not sure if it's 100% accurate, but that's what they've shared with us, is the availability of the right trucks, right? Because the farms can be of different accessibility, right? So, or different volumes. Do you have the right trucks to go to the right places, right? Sometimes they only allow smaller trucks. And you have smaller trucks, then therefore, sometimes you have the challenge of it's sub-optimized because you have to do more number of trips for lesser volume, right? So therefore, the cost per unit increases, right? Then that results in high sub-optimization, high cost. And sometimes, because you're not able to do everything in one run, you have challenges of meeting your cutoffs at consolidation area. Once you make the cutoff, the next question in the domestic transportation space is, do you have the right containers so you can bring your cargoes to Manila? This is a picture, an actual picture of how our cargoes are shipped to Manila, right? You get them off the trucks put them inside containers. And then sometimes the challenge, do you have the right container for the right produce, right? Do you have to ensure that it's fresh and all that? Is it available? Do you have the right enough loading docks? Because as you come in to the port or to the area yard where you have to load, you will have to book, and you're queuing with many people who are doing the same. So you need to get the right labor costs, etc. So potentially, if you're not able to meet the cutoff, you again might miss the ship. And then again, as mentioned, you're handling it. You've already handled it at the farm, at the consolidation area. You're handling it again at the loading area. the ship. Now you have to move it to the ship. You are all familiar maybe about the challenges of sometimes vessels get delayed in the Philippines because of many issues, right? There are port congestion, there are weather problems, there are equipment problems, sort. Sometimes there are also carrier problems when there are not enough container space or containers to move your cargoes to Manila, or vice versa. So what happens is that, again, longer lead time, risk to your produce, resulting to higher overall costs from your supply chain. Right? Even then, you get them to Manila. When you get to Manila, now you have to transload them or move them to another transportation vehicle. From a container, you use people again to unload them and put them into trucks. You handle it again. You're also worried that maybe do you have enough space available at the yard to be able to book space and book people to move the cargoes into the truck. Do you have the right truck? Is the truck available? And before you know it, and before you actually have to move it outside of the port. Finally, for those of you who have been to Manila, and many of you have to pre-pandemic, and now now that we're trying to open up, I think we're coming to experiencing it again. You have to confront the monstrous traffic jams that we have in Manila, right? So you have to look at the right truck again. You have to look at the traffic jams. Because of the traffic jams, and depends on the traffic location scenario you're going to location, your price of transportation could be high. Can you meet the delivery windows, right? Whether it's a marketplace, whether it's a supermarket, what have you, or wherever, or do you want to transport it to Luzon, for example, to Pampanga, to Dagupan? Do you have the ability to catch the cutoff and meet the long haul? So, all right, so that's some of the problems that our customers have shared with us. And finally, I think you don't know if you're a shipper or you're a consignee, you don't really know where the produce are, right? It moves from different hands, and then you don't really know where the cargoes are before you actually where before it gets consummated, right? So obviously there's a lot of ownership. Inventory is transferred in different stages of the life cycle. But if you are a shipper that integrated and you want to ship all the way to a consignee or a supermarket in Manila, do you have the visibility if your cargoes are really where they really are? If even if they're at the port of the origin, has it been loaded to the ship? We don't know that. If it's in the ship, has it been discharged to destination? Has it gone out the port? So those are types of visibility challenges that results to difficulties in the supply chain, right? So to go, I think our approach normally, and this is what we normally, when we talk to a lot of customers, again, it may not be 100% applicable, but it's a view that we often espouse, is that we need to look, when you look at supply chain, you look at the supply chain end to end. Oftentimes people look at it from a stage, let's say what's the cheapest truck from here to here, what's the cheapest container from here to here, what's the cheapest truck from here to here, and you break it up in multiple segments and you say this is cheap here, but then again it's slow, it's unreliable, ultimately the product does not arrive on time or in full, right? So your overall cost to unit or your success rate has come down, right? So ultimately it's not in full, not on time, and it's not the lowest cost, right? So what we oftentimes look at is that if we look at the shipping logistics in general, you look at the overall supply chain, look at the unit cost, the landed, the final unit cost as it arrives to the destination. So to get there, some of the ideas are you got to partner with some transport providers, as mentioned earlier, even at the origin, if possible, where they can provide multiple solutions. Again, similarly, share your products with other trucks. Look at loading on container. Look at different types of partners, because different types of partners might change the way we move things, right? You will have types of carriers will give you access to Class A containers, which are better suited to handle produce and all that. Do you believe that using refrigerated containers improves the freshness of the cargo, reduces spoilage? The ability to access refrigerated containers, again, chilled or frozen, would that give you a better outcome as it delivers the produce to the final destination? Use of smaller handling equipment. So as mentioned earlier, sometimes you try to fill up a 20-footer or 40-footer, but is there a way for us to use smaller handling equipment so that it becomes more portable as you cut across the multiple stages, right? I think I've mentioned this enough. Use of a reliable shipping line, right? Again, a partner with the right freight provider who can prioritize loading of perishables and reefer cargoes. And you partner with people who can offer more reliable services so that you don't have bear the risks. Because oftentimes it's an ETA. When an ETA, carriers are only obligated to give you an estimated time of arrival, but you'd like to be able to minimize that by working with carriers who are more reliable, right? Who have proven records of reliability, right? Are there, as mentioned earlier, is there a way for us to move in different types of containers? Is there a way, can you eliminate the touch of every product? Just to give you an example, in my previous company, in an automotive business, if you get a car in an origin port and you deliver it to a final dealer, which is just an example, let's say, for example, if you deliver the car in Manila and then you have multiple touch points all the way to, let's say, to Cebu, you arrive it as a brand new car. By the time it gets to Cebu, it's already a second-hand car because of all the dents, right? So similarly, then if you limit the handling of the cargo, it potentially reduces spoilage, potentially also reduces cost of handling. So is there a way for us to say, look at how we minimize that touch and do direct deliveries to store, right? And all that, right? Of course, there is also the need to be able to get a partner to offer multiple models, but not only different types of transportation. Is there a way for us to look at how to do multiple drops? For example, if I'm a producer or a trader and or a distributor, then I have multiple customers, can I use a partner to have multiple drops? Right, so you use only one truck, multiple drops, or if you don't have enough cargo, partner with somebody else, other cargos that go to the same location. So for example, if you're delivering it to a certain market and a certain producer also goes to that certain market, how do you consolidate those loads, shared economy again, bring it to the same location, and then reduce the overall cost per unit, the overall cost of logistics and transportation, right? Finally, it's also, any efficient supply chain also requires transportation visibility, right? So visibility allows people in the multiple stages of the supply chain to say, Teka, the orders have been changed, so ayoko na padala doon. Or maybe I should accelerate it or maybe slow it down because it's not as required anymore. So it's important. Again, may not be easy to do, but these are some of the solutions that are already available in the marketplace, right? For example, when you create the order is visible to a certain platform, when it's picked up, when it's delivered, when the goods is actually delivered to a store, supermarket, or a wet market, what have you. If you can have a proof of delivery, does that facilitate the financial transaction, right? And there are people who enable their trucks now with GPS to give live view of location of trucks and transportations and orders. So if you have all of that on top of the physical solutions, the shipper, the trader, the distributor, the consignee may have a single platform and they would know where their products are. Okay. I'd like to move on to the second use case. This is with regards to hatching eggs, right? So I think ToGo a few years ago was able to introduce a solution specific to the hatching eggs. I believe in the early 2000s, hatchability of eggs had been a big problem because of the long lead times, unreliable lead times, and the uncontrolled transportation temperature. My understanding is that, and I'm not the expert, is that if the temperature of the eggs vary many different stages, the incubation might be faster or something, right? So affected. So according to our teams who were involved in this process, we introduced a solution it was only 70 to 75% were successful. Hatchability was only 70 to 75% in 2000. I think some of the challenges included the lack of suitable containers. They were using dry containers. They were using egg cartons, so the loadability into a container is minimized. Instead of being able to fill up a container, maximize the container's height, you can only load to a certain level because it resulted to breakage. There's high cost of transportation because you have to move cargo from the egg depot to consolidation to ship, from ship to truck to store, to hatchery. And then from freight, similarly, vessel delays and all of that, longer lead times, and space availability, all of that. And similarly with the fresh produce, you have to transfer the delivery trucks. Sometimes the availability of trucks were a challenge, right? So in early this decade, I think we've ToGo provided an industry-specific solution to improve hatching eggs. What we did, and these are my colleagues who were here even before me, they introduced the movement of hatching eggs from dry containers to reefer assets. So they moved them to reefer assets. What it did is that it allowed them to control the temperature. I think the temperature set at 16 to 25 degrees, and then that means it's continuous temperature controlled from origin, from the egg depot all the way to the hatcheries. Right? We've also introduced the use of plastic trays within crates, so allow the stacking of eggs in a container and therefore maximize the use of the containers, the reefers. There was also yard planning. The yard planning, when they talk to a logistics, them being the logistics provider, ToGo started to plan the sequencing of trucks to the egg depot so it did not congest. There was right planning to bring the right container and bringing it to the ship and all that. Right? Routes were developed for ToGo, routes that were specific to the hatching eggs versus to Manila, from origin to Manila, were developed specifically to cater to this business. And one very important development is the use of door-to-door service, which means that you pick it up from using the refrigerated container here, and then you load it up already right there, and then the cargo no longer gets out of the reefer until it gets delivered to the hatchery. So imagine there's only one handling from egg depot into the container, and then the next handling will be unloading at the hatchery. Obviously, what's important is to have reliability, day definite, unique day, so that the planning, the aging of the eggs, all are planned accordingly. So I understand that we've been able to improve the overall hatchability productivity from 70 to 75% when it was then to now to almost 95% hatchability today because of this solution. All right. So these are just some of the solutions. I'm sure there are a lot more, but given the time that we have, this is the things that we'd like to share with you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much po, Sir Waldo, for that presentation at very informative and ang dami-dami talaga naming natutunan sa discussion niyo po. And now, sir, we are going to go na ba to our open forum? Yes, we'll go na po to our open forum if it's okay with you. So, sir, starting with our first question, ito po. What are the impacts of the pandemic in ToGo's logistics operations? And what are ToGo's strategies in navigating through this time of the pandemic?
Daming challenges because first challenges would be internal to us, includes the people safety. People safety was the number one challenge. You couldn't operate unless you were sure that your people were safe, right? So therefore we had to implement strict protocols, right? So within the offices, in the warehouses, we gave PPEs, we protected our employees. We're actually vaccinating our employees. We're close to 90% vaccination already of our employees because we believe it's critical, especially in this industry. And then for our customers also, we came up because the demand have also changed. The logistics demands have also changed. Dati kasi 100% of our buyers would go to stores, right? Would go to the supermarkets, would go to stores. Nagbago. The baskets, the basket sizes, what of types of products people buy, and how they buy it have changed. So we've come up with solutions that cater to those requirements, whether it's number one is that ability to serve these new locations where they buy. It could be a convenience store, could be the supermarket is doing very well, the normal supermarkets. But we have to work with our customers to define the right SKUs and products to sell. And also the B2C. B2C is very important. So we've been expanded our B2C capabilities to cater not only most especially first on the essential goods, right? Pharma, food, but now also the non-essential goods as we also support the expansion of the economy. One more thing about that is that our strategy was also to help a lot of displaced workers, right? A lot of our retail stores, a lot of our businesses have closed, and a lot of them have moved to micro entrepreneurship. So some of them are selling goods in the internet, some are exporting. So we've been able to help them in those regards by offering them good services.
Okay, I see. Thank you so much, sir, for clearing up that question. Ito naman po, second question natin. Ito, weather affects movement of goods. How do you cope with major weather disturbances? How do you prevent the spoilage of fresh produce when ships are not allowed to leave the port if typhoon's warning signal is raised by Pag-asa?
Okay, so sa amin naman, we always take care of the produce, right? It's always in priority areas. So obviously we can protect if our ships get held, nahihirapan kami doon. No, we can challenge weather, we can challenge all of that, but we offer temperature controlled solutions, and I think that's something that we really need to look at. That's why I was also looking at. Sometimes we look at the cost, right? The immediate cost. But what about the overall cost when you factor in all of the risks, right? If you offer a temperature controlled solution, which we have a lot of, so I think that could help preserve the freshness of goods, right?
That's very good to know na ToGo really takes that into consideration man po. Okay, now let's move to the next question. Ito naman po. How does ToGo transport live animals like cattle, hogs, and poultry? How do you prevent or minimize mortality of these animals?
We used to do that. We used to carry live animals, but we don't do that anymore. So I'm sorry for that question. We don't do that anymore at this point.
Okay, I see. Thank you, sir. At least it is cleared up na, no? Ito naman po, from one of our Facebook viewers, Alexander Morados. He is asking po, what is your stand on delays of delivery due to some health and safety protocols in seaports, airports, and on checkpoints requiring truck drivers and delivery men for swab test, antigen test, and to undergo quarantine period of 5 to 7 days?
Transfer,
Stand lang daw po.
yung mga
Yes,
truck,
what is
mga
your...
drivers, they don't need 7 days. So
Mm.
I think yung mga 7 days are the people who come in, right? Come in. Let's start with that. The people that are coming 5 to 7 days. I believe if returning rest, are you talking about returning LSIs or locally stranded individuals? Or are you looking at the foreign
I
national?
think locally stranded people
Stranded.
po yung...
I think, well, we'd like to be able to, we need, let's say, we need to continue to open our economy, right? So I think as long as we are able to prove antigen tests, safety protocols, we believe that as long as they're proven to be safe, I think we should start facilitating the flow of people because it's critical to our economy, right? Mobility is critical to our economy. So we believe that we should, especially now with vaccinations, with safety protocols in place, I think it might be good to start to open it up a little bit more, right? To allow travel, to allow not only tourist travel, but also, domestic tourism, but also commercial travel, business travel.
I see. Thank you so much for that, sir. And then now let's go to the next question. Ito naman po. What is ToGo's outlook of the future for the logistics industry and for ToGo's logistics operations as it continues to serve the country's agri and food sector?
Oh, it's so bright. I think the logistics, it truly is a fourth pillar. I think it's given the nature of our country, that it's it's fragmented, it's archipelagic, and there is a growth. I mean, set the pandemic aside, the people are disposable income is growing. People are buying more goods. People are buying not only food produce but also other stuff, right? I think logistics to be able to move, cater to the growth in many locations has become extremely important, right? So the outlook for ToGo, therefore, is bright. So because that's why we do have more ships. The picture behind me is a new ship. So the ownership of ToGo as the stakeholder, the board members, the shareholders have decided to invest even during the time of pandemic because the outlook is very bright, right? Very bright. And yeah.
Yes, that's very true po, sir. No? Yes, since our country nga, the geography, we are archipelagic nga, and then a lot of islands, so kailangan talaga yung logistics. And I think also this pandemic has highlighted the importance of logistics right now. So ito naman po, since we're talking about pandemic, one of our Facebook viewers, Lourdes Acosta Lorito, sabi po niya, what will be the permanent changes in the logistics industry after this pandemic?
I think it's as mentioned, the buying patterns have changed, right? The buying patterns have changed. The even in many countries, this has already started. The consumer empowerment, even before the pandemic in the U.S., in China, in Europe, the consumer dictates where they want their products. The consumer dictates where they want their products, how they want to buy it. They buy it. They don't have to pay cash. They want to pay multiple ways of paying. So it will change the way the payment dynamics, the delivery dynamics, what customers want will change, right? So what types of products they want, what quantums of products they want. So in the old days, for example, in the US, people buy in bulk, right? They would go to a Walmart, buy a lot. But now you'd see more and more people buy a certain quantity and expect it the same day. So meron ng talagang consumer empowerment, and therefore the ability to cater to that is technology. Technology is a critical enabler to be able to get everything to achieve that.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now, we're down to our last question. Ito po, this is a general question, and I think a lot will really want to ask this. No, what does it take for logistics companies to succeed in this business?
Modern thinking, really new solutions. Kasi you cannot live with current solutions. Almost impossible because demands are changing, conditions are changing. You need to look at the way. Kasi in customers mo, we always need to look at how they beat their competitors. So how do they win in their markets? They're only as valuable to a customer if you're able to come up with a solution that's unique for them, that allows them to win in the market. So dapat meron kang new ideas. Number two, you need to be able to invest in the proper people and tools, right? Get the right people, the smartest kids, a lot of smart kids here from Xavier, and then get the right tools that are modern, that allows you, enables speed, enables visibility, prediction, and all that. So yeah, so they should be able to have that.
I see. Thank you so much, sir. Very well said.
Oh, by the way, cost. You just add costs. Cost
Oh,
management is
cost.
extremely important.
Yes.
You need to be
Yes,
able
very
to manage
important.
costs and become very lean to be able to succeed, because there's a lot of competitors. As mentioned earlier, consumers are
Yes.
demanding. You need to have that. You need to be able to do that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for that po, sir. So, yes, as I've said, that was our last question. So, sir, before we say goodbye lang po, we'd like to ask for your message to our viewers, especially to the young ones who are watching our live right now.
Well, sa akin, I think it's important, based on what we discussed today, is like think out of the box, leverage best practice in the industry, right? So from a logistics standpoint, logistics will grow. It's a very interesting, dynamic industry, especially the agricultural space, because agriculture, food is very important. We should also look at, this is one thing I probably want to reiterate all the time, and I said it during the presentation, don't look at supply chain by element, look at it an overall end-to-end, because ultimately what's important is the final cost of delivery, which is the cost of the goods, finally the land, they call landed cost or delivery cost, the final cost, because that's ultimately what you want to lower, right? So even if you're more expensive in this area, as long as you get it there in full anytime, it means a lot. The third piece is that not everyone's an expert, right? So let's leverage experts. So because experts have experience in many areas like in logistics, in agriculture, right? So if you're the expert in agriculture, I'd like to get your help, right? If you're an expert in logistics and supply chain, I'd like to get your help, because only by putting all of those ideas together, I think we could come up with the best solution for the challenges, for example, that we have. Thank you.